A wonderful good evening. Welcome to the space. Let's give people 5 minutes to join and then we can proceed. Daktari, I see you. Welcome on board. Tony Gashuka, I see you. Lynn Ngugi, I see you. Welcome everyone. Just 5 minutes and then we can proceed. Kulipa gharama, sitasimama maovu yakitawala, sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, kuuza sura, wataki kuuza sera. Undugu ni kufaana, sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Hatujekwadhifa, una deserve bila cash kama kashfa. Hii society Kenya wanaeza share ni nyungu ya busa ama kecho ya shisha. Mfuko zinasikia eko. Unajua thamani ya mali na tazi ya kikuli. Eyo, ujaibiwa jua unakaa kitu wo. Risking jail time, police bullet flow. Unaweza argue, crime doesn't pay. Lakini wezi dismiss justice in a day. Mwizi ana 40 days, 365 days later. Anaendelea kuwa factor. Do anything for power. Ready to lose their head for presidency. Bora waione kwa currency. Sababu gani ziko affected the turbulence. Nikiflangani nimezoa the same feeling. Matatu zikipitia pothole mtaani. Juliane, yeah. Kontaka siwezi karanga. Uwe hai, shagala bagala. Niko tayari kulipa gharama. Sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, kuuza sura, wataki kuuza sera. Undugu ni kufaana, sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Itabidi raise hands, growing concern, breakfast and croissant. Hataki punguze bei ya bidhaa, tunataka opportunities ndio tu afford hizo bidhaa. Walisema kutembea kwingi ndio kuona mengi, nimeshinda nikitembea maofisi na sijaiona kazi. Sasa cheza golf kwenye touch. So guys, welcome to the space. It's 3 minutes past, but I know we still have 2 minutes to wait. But as we wait, we can welcome the guests and the co-hosts, and then we will have we'll begin. Meanwhile, please share the space so that at least when people come later, they don't ask questions that you already addressed before, and then it becomes a little redundant. Yeah. So I would just like to explain a few things about the space. Of course, we're going to, really have some, let me call it a good space where we don't want to really just have a market space here. So we're going to have, good communication going on, respectful communication. We want to really just insist on that for the sake of a better communication. That having been said, I would like to say that we are using the language of the space is Swahili and English. So sio lazima mtu aongee Kiingereza, unaweza ongea Swahili pia tuko sawa nayo. Without further ado, because it's a weekend and some of us are very, very tired, well, let me give the chance to the co-host to say hello, salamie, and then we pretty much begin. Book 10 and then Afro, over to you in that order. Not sure Book 10 can hear me. Afro, over to you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, good morning, Kenyans, comrades, patriots. It's great to meet with you again to have a discussion on what is affecting.
Maja, I cannot hear Afro.
Oh, hello.
Okay. I can hear him. Can you hear me, Daktari? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you, but I can't hear him.
I think I'll have to drop and come back again.
Okay, then please do. Okay.
No, actually, you're audible to all of us. I think it's Daktari who is having a problem.
Okay, let me try to sort that with him out. Afro, kindly continue.
Oh, okay. As we're having these technical issues being sorted out, please do us a favor and share the space on your wall, on your timeline. We want to have as many Kenyans joining into this discussion as we come to terms on what's going on in our nation and how we can come up with solutions on moving forward. It's great to be here. Thank you, host, for having us, and my fellow co-hosts and all the speakers, distinguished guests. So we're going to pick up the microphone. Please do not remain silent. The one thing that this corrupt regime wants us to go back into our homes, go back into our cocoons, and stay silent and remain quiet as they continue to pillage the country. But we have said we're not going to do that. We're going to keep the conversation going, and we're going to seek active solutions to this active developing situation in the country. The revolution is still alive, and it's alive with you and me. Thank you so much, Maj. I'll yield the microphone back to you.
Thanks so much, Afro. Book 10, over to you. Uko kwa barabara. Okay, let me text you. Probably, I think he's having some connection issues. Let me just text him because I cannot hear you, Bukten. That's the reason why. So, Daktari, can you now? Could you hear Afro? Because otherwise, yeah.
I did.
Oh,
I
great.
did towards the end.
Great,
yes,
great. That's great. So we had planned. We have some just an official agenda, just for the sake of moderation. But before that, just feel free to just warm the space in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to begin. I just try by giving Book 10 the mic again. If he's not able to speak, then we can go to Abdullah, Drizzy, and then Manwa, and that's 3 minutes each. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can. Kindly proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to thank the host and everyone else. I'm in Nairobi currently, and I just came back from Mandera 10 days ago. If you look at what's happening in the country, before even we go to the politics, the economy part, today there was information that came out that 99.7% of Kenyans have less than 500,000 in their bank accounts. There are close to 18,000 students who have not gone to university. If you look at northern Kenya, where I come from, like Mandera County, Mandera Town, out of 187,000 persons, 78% of that population cannot have 2 meals. So the problem with our country, as I always said, it started in 1963 when Kenyatta came to power. He started dealership instead of building, a nation with a dream. We had dealership in Kenyatta government. We had dealership in Moi government. We have dealership in Kenyatta. This one is even, and I said even before, this one is going to be the most dangerous president we'll ever have. His greed is not even, the country cannot even sustain his greed. Sometimes even though there is no honor in thievery, at least as the pastor said when the president was there, that even if you steal, at least you're stealing public resources, you take it back. So we have to talk as a country and say, first of all, Kenyans are more than 56 million. These cliques are less than 400. So we have to make a choice that we either want to have a better country for our children, or we want to be Jaluos, Kikuyus, warriors. And then when the economy bites, you go to a supermarket. I'm not sure today there is a supermarket for the Kalenjins in Eldoret or for the Kikuyus in Muranga. We are all affected by the problem. So Let us use our ethnic, composition of a country to build a nation where everyone is proud, where there is meritocracy, where those who go to parliament don't become just like what the late Philip Ocheng used to call or called the presidentship. I mean, how does a member of parliament from northern Kenya vote against Gachagua? I mean, that itself is a problem because they were whipped to vote. If the member of parliament could come and substantiate most of these things, then we will have said these people have brains. But I don't think we have members of parliament representing. You have already seen circulating on social media that they want to extend the presidential and parliament term from 5 years to 7 years. What is more, gluttonious than that? I mean, it's not even enough. 5 years is not even enough. So I would like to tell Kenyans, we have our young boys and girls who are now in primary school, in secondary school. If this is the future we want to build for them, then Ruto will win. But if we mobilize ourselves, you've seen this weekend, Central Kenyan MPs have been chased from pubs where they were drinking. It's very difficult for members of parliament to do siren in the streets. I'm told most of them are taking Ubers and that's why, because June, July, the people's power, we the people have expressed ourselves. We have told them we employed you. We went to parliament. Unfortunately, the rogue state killed many young Kenyans and they are continuing to abducting many Kenyans. A young MCA, a father of children from Wajir County, has been abducted for almost a month. He has not been taken to court. So we have a responsibility to say a few of us have to be sacrificed, because I was called myself, I appear on shows, I write on the local dailies. I was appalled, people tell me this government is going to kill you. And I told them, I do not know how to die because I never died. And as a Muslim, I believe that in the Quran, God tells us, Kullu nafsun da'iqatul maut, that every soul shall one day test. So we do not know how we are going to die. So Ruto and his regime cannot threaten us with death. We are more than them. We are more Kenyans. We are more determined. And I will also want to say thank you very much for your work, Dr. Miguna. We might not know each other, but we know what you're doing. Please let us fight for the future. It's no longer about us. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Abdullahi. Afro, feel free to chime in at any point. Book 10 is on the road. He'll also chime in a little bit later. But let's continue. Let's queue in about 5 speakers before we get on to we had some invited guests, and after that we're going to open a Q&A session, and a very, very, we want to have an interactive session. So I'm going to give a lady the mic, Shayla, and then we go to Wonder. 3 minutes each, please.
Hello, hi, Moj. Thank you so much. My name is Shayla Nyangara Nyanchara. I'm a passionate Kenyan, and I'm also an entrepreneur. So I thank God that Kenyans, we are now woke. We are no longer victims of political PR. And one thing that I have come to learn progressively is we are already civically educated as a people. We know what our rights are. We know what we need to do when the systems are failing. What we are now learning, I think we're in the next step. I stand to be corrected. We're in the step of learning political and discerning political behavior, political ideologies, and that is where we are at. And the moment, and Kenyans, let us not lose hope. This is a journey that we are going on, and we will break through. I think we have broken through some very, very ceilings that we did not even think of. So let us continue like this. First of all, I usually like to begin with encouragement, because I usually do I decided to do public participation, because after we did the finance bill and we all work as Kenyans, and we realized, you know what, policy making is at the core of our of determining what the quality of our lives will be. This is what determines what kind of food you can eat as an individual, as a family, whoever you are. This is what determines the kind of healthcare service, the quality of healthcare service you get. Policy and the center of politics is what determines what kind of education you will get, you and your descendants, if you decide to have a family, your relatives. It will determine where you study, where you travel. It will determine your exposure, and exposure is what ultimately builds an economy. And if the economy is good, even you as a person, you will be good. So I think I decided to do my public participation, and I usually hold Tuesday spaces, and it's called the Tuesday update. And during that conversation, the Tuesday update, where we just decide to come as Kenyans and bring our ideas together, our heads together. What are the challenges and what are the solutions that we can face? Because every single day you find there's a challenge. I know people say we complain a lot, but the complaining comes from the realization of something, a new challenge every single day. So in the course of this, I met Dr. Ekuru Okot during the spaces. Alikuja kwa space akatupatia one of the solutions of the things that he was doing, and that was the Punguza Mizigo bill. I don't want to dive into it. But why I'm bringing this up is because as I was enlightening people about how we can reduce the cost of governance in our country, a lady was asking me, how then do we do it? And I'm like, we have the strength of the Constitution. And they're like, but people are disregarding the law left, right, and center, beginning from Ruto himself down even to a simple chief. Everyone is just disregarding the law. No one is following anything. And the moment our law is bended and broken, that means the foundation of our democracy is already shaken, and we will fight and keep fighting, and we cannot go anywhere. And I was like, and I told her, no, these are people who have invested their resources to gain political power, and they will not give it up easily. They've invested in this, and they have gotten our trust, and we have given them these positions of representation, but then they decide to misuse them, and they will not get out there. So what do we need to do? We need to keep pushing. If you try one thing, I was one of the people who were advocating for the road maintenance levy fund. And when people went for public participation, and the then Minister of Transport, Mr. Murkomen, alisemati, hatutapandisha hiyo levy fund, we will find a way to cushion Kenyans before we increase. But then the president the following week, Ruto akasema tu tutapandisha. And you now wonder, because ultimately the cost of this.
Sheila, would you try to wind up, please? We're trying to get 3 minutes each, and Abdullahi, I will try to drop those who have spoken so that the others can get a chance. So if I drop you after you've spoken, there's no offense. They're just trying to create some space for others. Back to you, Sheila, as you wind up, and then
Thank you so much. So, and where was I?
Paul, I think I just interrupted you. You were at this point where there's something you talked about, Ekuru Ekot, and you were thinking about the next steps. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, let me just sum it up. We will never relent, and we are looking at a political class that has formed their ideologies to their solution. The ultimate solution is coming together, forming coalitions to protect themselves. And one thing we need not to lose is our determination. Every time we come together and fight for a purpose, something we are already making a step towards. So me, I'm very happy that even Eric Omondi picked up the nimesahau hiyo nini ya ku reduce the cost of governance, and that is another thing we need to focus on is the quality of leadership that we send. The people we choose to represent us are very important. Let us focus on scrutinizing them very, very intensively. And then number 2, always be up. ukipata shida iko, ambia mtu, let somebody know something is happening to you. And when you hear something is happening to somebody, even if you're one person and you say it, eventually that truck will come. So I want to tell us, let us reject poor governance. Let us reject mismanagement of public resources. Let us reject stealing of our hard-earned tax money. Let us reject unjust policies. Let us reject violation of human and constitutional rights, and let's keep at it. Let us reject any form of oppression on our health, on our education, on our transport, on our food security, on our peace as Kenyans. Our mental health is very important. Anytime a leader comes to you and they want to compromise your integrity, make sure you make it known. We need to lose the fear. I know most of us could be scared, maybe nitakufa, maybe nitafanya nini, but at some point we have to cross a certain bridge, and let us do it together. So to close, there is this bill called Punguza Mizigo Bill ya Ekurokot. I think if we come together and we amend it, we tweak a bit what needs to be adjusted for what we're experiencing now and what we think can be tackled in the future. I think that would be a good thing. People who need a copy of that bill, I have it, and on Tuesday from 6 to about 8, we also tackle it. I do not have the intellect to dissect the Constitution, but we just give our opinions on it. And sometimes Ekurokot comes to the space, and I would like to invite also Dr. Miguna, because of your insight and knowledge of the Constitution as a legal person. I also welcome every other Kenyan. We need each other. So thank you so much for this space. Na tuendele hivyo hawa watu wasitubebe ujinga, tumechoka. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Let's go to Wanda and then Afro, and Afro will then usher in Daktari. Yeah.
Thank you so much, I suggested the person. I forget Daktari Miguna and every person on board. From where I sit, I feel like we keep getting all this wrong. Because I'm not in either way looking at the Punguza Mizigo or any kind of initiative that is being brought on board as a problem or not okay. But I feel like we keep getting this wrong. When you look at Kenya,
Can somebody hear Wanda well? I think he's not.
Just the general elections, we were having things like. You can hear me?
The past seconds not, but now yes. Now yes. Try again.
Okay, thank you. As I was saying, I feel like we keep getting this all wrong. That in as much as politics is a major problem that is affecting us, but it always starts and ends with the presidential elections. That we keep giving presidential elections a lot of time, powers, resources, and everything to the extent that we end up with the office that is not addressing the challenges and problems of our people, but instead we end up getting a person, we end up getting an office that in one way or the other is in a position to put into their pocket the legislature. At some point, we'll end up with the judiciary not working well, and all this. It's all the presidential election that we end up forgetting that as a country we have other regions that might not be populated, but probably they have a say, or probably they have an input into the problems that we are having. From the tyranny of numbers, Kupanda Mlima, and today we are now talking of Kuguza Mlima, it tells you that even if we end up with 1 or 2, 3 programs brought on board to Punguza the Mzigo that we are having, if we don't address the presidential elections and how we conduct our elections, we'll still end up with some individuals into these positions that will not address the challenges that we are having. If I'm told no one of these people is looking at the CDF, and imagine that when Kibaki came into power, he only brought in CDF to address the inequalities that were brought in by the differences between those in opposition and those in government, then it tells you that we are still not addressing the challenges that we are facing. The other thing that I would like to talk of that I feel like it's probably not going the right direction is how we are managing the Gen Zs and the millennials. We are too quick to fund any Gen Zs or the millennials that are perceived to be speaking the language of the people. Instead of looking at these individuals, guide them, nurture them before funding a clear structure, we end up empowering these Gen Zs and the millennials too early, too soon, such that those in power, those in the presidential election power kind of mindset, easily points out those few 1, 2, 3 individuals that we are funding, put them in the pocket, then we go back to the square zero. Instead of funding these young, promising Gen Zs and the millennials that probably are perceived or seen as persons with the potentials to offer alternative leadership in the future, start coming up with the clear structures. Put them in proper structures before showing them, before putting money into their hands. So allow me to yield on this point that the main problem that we are facing as a country is how we conduct presidential elections. If we don't address how we conduct presidential elections, we'll end up with the saints in the same positions that will turn into vampires, then eaters. Allow me to yield on that much.
Thank you so much, Mwalimu Wanda, for your very good submissions there. Of course, you gave us some food for the thought, and that's a very welcome, submission. Over to you, Afro, as you then welcome Dr.
Thank you so much. Guys, I hope we are sharing the space on your timeline. Revolutionary ideas must be passed on like candles. You have to inject in your social circle of influence, whether it's your family, whether it's your work colleagues, even as a simple tweet on your space. You're keeping these revolutionary ideas going. Right now, we're at a stage where we're bridging the gap between generations, between Gen Zs, millennials, Gen Xs, boomers. This is where there are people who have fought in this struggle for the longest, and we are now standing on their shoulders, and we are joining hands, and we're cuffing links, and we're saying that we have to dispose this corrupt regime. So without further much ado, allow me to welcome Daktari Miguna on the space to give us his thoughts on the revolution. Karibu Daktari, the microphone is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Maj and Afrocentric, for the illuminating introduction. I've been listening, and I want to continue listening before I contribute to the discussion. I've just asked Maj to also include, I've seen Dr. Barak Muluka listening.
Yeah, let me add them,
I believe Wakili Ndegwa was there. So there are a few other people, plus, of course, our friend Mwangi, CPA, who has done quite a bit of research on how corruption and looting is happening at the counties. So I will be back, but let's have a vibrant discussion.
Great, Dr. Tony, you've left. I just added you to the mic. Kindly pick it. As I try to add other guests, let me see if that is going to work now. I think you sent the request again. As I add them on, let's have Farah speak.
Thank you. Maj, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a very different opinion from... I don't blame the political class, because for them, it was an opportunity that they saw and wanted to execute. And according to them, they're doing it very well. My problem is with us, the citizenry, the people. Sisi kama wananchi. For a period of time, a lot of us have not cared about what happens with our motherland. We have not.
Marge, is there a problem? I can't seem to
I
hear
can
anybody.
hear the current speaker.
Yeah, Farah, I can hear Farah too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. I can hear him. Let's give him one more chance, then we see what happens. And after him, we have Tony on board. Farah, kindly continue.
Thank
2 more
you,
minutes,
Marge.
please.
No problem. I was saying for a period of time we haven't cared enough about what happens with the future of our country, because if you look at the bills that have been passed for a period of time since Uhuru's time to this current regime, it's a continuous attack on our agricultural sector and our sovereignty, because ni uenda wazimu inaendelea, honestly, for lack of better words. And if you look at, we need to start having the mentality that, and understanding that it is our responsibility to develop our motherland. Adani is not responsibility Adani or anybody else coming from the outside. I'll give you a very simple example where we can make this happen and ensure that everybody believes in ourselves, because what Adani is offering, for instance, for the JKIA and all the other airports, is 30% of $2 billion, which is about 600. If you ukileta into Kenyan shillings, it's about 78 billion Kenyan shillings. Divided amongst the populace, it's 1,560 shillings per person. But that's impossible. Why don't we form a consortium, buy shares into it, and become Adani? What is stopping us from building our motherlands? America was built by Americans and the immigrants who wanted to be Americans. 60 years ago, Dubai and all these lands were desolate deserts, but it was built by the Arabs and the money that they pulled from their grounds. You as a people, what's stopping you? Why do you always have to delegate your responsibility to other people? This is the same reason we have a lot of people having the Messiah mentality, whereby unaona mtu is just pointing out at problems, not coming up with solutions, but you go on the same boat because he's the only person speaking and you're not responsible enough to take up responsibility. That was one thing. The second thing, I would really like to talk to the people who are my age, the Gen Zs and the millennials. One of the main reasons why the protests failed was because we told the older generation and everybody else, kaeni nyumbani, we do not need you. That's a lie. We need each and everybody. Look at what happened in Egypt at the Tahrir Square. It is the Gen Z and the younger generation that were camping out, but the older generation provided them with everything else that they needed. They provided food, water, security, blankets, everything you needed. And that's the only way we are going to change this country. It's not about you. It's about what's better and what's best for this country. It's about a better tomorrow. And this is one plea I would like to make to the older generation, Kina Dr. Miguna, Kina Tony Gashoka, and all these other older people. We will make mistakes as the younger generation, but we need your wisdom and our energy to make this thing work. Otherwise, we will all keep on complaining online and discussing problems without ever coming up with solution or acting on those solutions. I don't think the election cycle or the political class is a problem. Shida ni wewe na mimi. We do not love this country enough. And the moment you realize that hii nchi ni mimi na wewe, there's a Somali saying that says, Dalka wa datka, dulka maha. The country is the people, not the land. So those are my few remarks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Farah. If you don't mind, put that phrase on the comment section. We're going to learn some Somali here as we continue. Thanks. Tony Gashoka?
Marge,
yes.
I would like to also add a verse of the Quran before Tony comes on.
Go on.
You know, the older generations, the generations that came before us, dealt with tyrants who were much worse than the people we are dealing with. Moses was told, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Go and face Pharaoh, for he has exceeded in transgression. And he said, I am scared, for he might exceed upon me or kill me. And God told him, La taqafa, innani ma'akuma asma'u wa ara. Do not be scared, for I am with you, all seeing and all hearing. And this was against people who are building the pyramids. We are dealing with people who cannot maintain roads. Look at the disparity. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the very strong ending of that statement. Yes. Over to you, Tony.
Yes, good evening to everybody, Maj and my comrade at arms, Dr. Miguna. Look, fellow Kenyans, we are at the most dangerous time we have ever been, I think, since the construction of the Kenyan Republic. I say the Kenyan Republic because the more dangerous times, comparable ones, were during the fight for our independence from the colonial powers in order to transform Kenya into a self-governing state. So dangerous is the situation because I am seeing a series of activities that can be summarized not just as dictatorship, but a methodical, systematic degrading of our multi-party democracy. I mean, we've already talked from the beginning, since the disputed election, that the first thing to discredit was the commission, electoral commission itself, that it was, said to be split. But soon after that election, it was buried. As we speak today, nobody in the political class, including the opposition or the government, is talking about the IBUC. We are in a situation where there is a conspiracy between the opposition and the government. William Ruto began to systematically buy the opposition MPs. But I think I see something which is even more worrisome. The opposition MPs are seeking William Ruto. It is no longer a one-way relationship. This is a two-way traffic. The greed of the political class, the excesses of the greed of the political class in Kenya is beyond historical comparisons. Yes, you go to elections, you elect MPs, they vote themselves the biggest salaries and the biggest benefits. When they leave office, they give themselves pensions and health care for life. They have voted within parliament that if you elect a party to government or a party to opposition, they are entitled to the political party's fund. Therefore, even after elections, the public continue to fund their political parties. Many of those political parties are individual enterprises, like in the case of ODM, like in the case of several other smaller parties. One would argue in Kenyan politics from the time of DP, from the time of, I think, Foda, Silly, and so forth, that so many of these parties were always individualized. So that even what you call the political parties fund becomes the piggy bag of the so-called owners of these parties, again funded by the public. And then all of a sudden, you've seen the other day, Parliament within 24 hours can come together in unison, government, opposition, and everything in between. And within 24 hours can pass a motion and a bill with 2/3 in their interest or in whatever the agenda they want to pass. Without where we are in Kenya today, we elected a government and an opposition that is non-existent. The Kenyan people, under the political parties political act of 2021, were given the position before elections to look at parties. Those parties went out and formed coalitions. In the case of the Kenya Kwanza, they formed coalitions of parties and offered their manifesto and offered their candidatures to the country. In the case of Azimio, they formed a constituent party. The law requires that both the two competitors deposit with the registrar of political parties the documents containing the ideology, manifesto, and the order in which they will govern themselves, so that in case of any disputes, the public would be able to know that there's been a violation of those agreements and that the courts will be participatory in the solving of those problems. So look at these Kenyans, why we are in real crisis. You are given William Ruto and his running mate Gachagua. On the other hand, you are given Raila and Martha Karua. And today, none of whom you voted for is together. You are looking at a situation where William Ruto has undone the popular will of all the people and members of Kenya Kwanza who voted in a team as presented by Ruto to the public. You are looking at a situation where Raila Odinga has fallen out with the principals or the people who put together a coalition in Azimio, and they put themselves to the public. And the people who voted Azimio and the people who voted Kenya Kwanza have all been defrauded. They have been delegitimized. In other words, the mandate that these people are using to govern or to participate in opposition and whatever conspiracies they are building are illegitimate. They are null and void ab initio. They do not reflect the will of the people as voted in the general election of 2022. And therefore, what are you doing? You're dealing with an illegal, illegitimate government, illegal, illegitimate structure of opposition and government, illegal, illegitimate government of national unity. You're dealing with a government that does not obey court orders. You're dealing with a government which is beginning to infiltrate the judiciary. You are looking at a situation where they pay themselves allowances, where they pay themselves huge amounts in the political parties' bill to reward their parties so that small parties emerging from the public can never emerge because only those who claim they were voted by us are taking money on our basis and yet they don't reflect us. And they are showing you that they can take 2/3 of parliament and do whatever they want with it. So I want to raise this alarm to this nation at this time, at this moment, that let it be said that some of us began to say very early on that we must, first of all, say that the multi-party state, as described in chapter 4 of the 2010 Constitution, that there will be a government and that there will be an opposition in order that Kenya is a multi-party state guaranteed by the Bill of Rights, has now no longer continued to exist and does not exist at all. And one of the reasons that I'm in court next Thursday on the 17th of October, leading a constitutional petition against the sale of Jomo Kenyatta Airport is because the government and the opposition and parliament and all the persons we have delegated our authority to are taking that authority to waste our society and our property and our assets without getting to the propriety of the case. How do you take an asset that belongs to the public, but is also a profitable asset, so that you take it at no reason whatsoever, give it to without any public participation, public scrutiny, and continue a plan and a system of raping the public? So you rape the public on elections. You rape them by paying yourselves, including giving yourselves pensions, taking from the political party's fund. Then you take their assets of Kenya and you say that you're privatizing them. And then you go to the streets and you order the army and deploy them. Then you take guns and bullets and shoot our children. And then you leave them to be buried and rot as dogs. And then you wake up every Sunday and go to church. And the man you used to go to church with, Rigathi Gachagua, you impeach him in 24 hours. Like as though that was like killing a mosquito on a bed. If they can do that to Gachagua, what can they do to you? This is a state of an emergency, and I'm calling upon all Kenyans, particularly those who say that they are the Genz and whatever. This is a time for all hands on deck. I do not want to hear, I have no longer any appetite to hear, oh, this is our favorite person, or this person has done this, or we don't want that person. The reason you're continuing to be used this way is because of this attitude of arrogance that must stop. Until we stop being arrogant against ourselves, they are going to continue to step on us. We must unify. We must bring in the experience of yesterday with the vigorous anticipation of youth. We must be able to recreate a coalition of the willing. We must be able to bring all Kenyans together in a manner that will surprise them. We look back in our history and you will find that within our history, there were men and women who stood beyond their time. and sacrifice beyond their call of duty, whether it be Kenneth Matiba or Wangari Maathai or Degama Pinto or Tom Mboya or Robert Ouko. There were so many, and there can be so many others who can join within the current and the energetic in order that what is created is an alternative universe from the universe that is being created by our looters and by our detractors who are captured power in 2022 illegitimately because they are governing by a fraud. What was cast in votes is not what is in government or opposition altogether. It is therefore true to say that the entire government of Kenya, the entire opposition structure, including parliament, senate, they are all illegal, they are all illegitimate and do not have the mandate of the Kenyan people. And therefore, if somebody was to ask me, how are we going to go forward from here? And during the 90s, there was a time we decided not to appeal to the government. We decided to appeal to lawyers. Then Paul Mwite was the chairman of the Law Society. And there was a time all lawyers began to boycott the going to court on any matter, whether it be constitutional, be it corporate law, until certain things were done. We must have a kind of a national boycott of our judiciary system until such a time the IBC is put in place, because without it, without the IBC, all these lamentations that people are talking about, be they an idea of referendum, an idea of recalling MPs, an idea of anything electoral, is null and void, can never take off without an independent electoral boundaries commission. And it is possible to call about other institutions that are not in the control of government. That is why when doctors go to the streets and strike, and the hospitals are shut, and when the teachers go to the streets and strike, and the schools are shut, the government, with all its arrogance, with all these things they have put on their one side, are forced to come back and kneel before the people, because that's the language they understand, the language of defiance and the language of saying no. If we can get the lawyers, if we can talk to them, and, obviously right now their lawyers are also split, because there are those since the government of national unity who have abandoned us. I still believe that we can get a large number of people to disrupt the entire legal system, because until you disrupt the legal system, you cannot get an IBC. You're not going to get it from parliament. We must find a way in which we hold the government by the neck. We must be able to make sure there is no oxygen in the system of government. And they cannot govern without a legal system. They cannot govern without doctors or teachers. And since those are not the places we need to fight for IBC, mine is to try and see if we can build any kind of consensus around courts and the legal process of boycott as a tool of energizing and bringing, judges and the High Court and Kenyan people into looking at the IBC question. Now, moving from that point, I also want to say that William Ruto's impeachment motion meant very little to me. I really don't give a damn if he removes Gachagua or he does not. But it sent shockwaves to me that this can be the template of extending his rule in parliament. By extending his rule of MPs, he can go and say, look, now we want a 7-year term. We can be able to come back without any inhibition and use the Museveni Kagame playbook of raping the constitution and in making sure that the 2010 constitution becomes the Ruto constitution of 2024, 2025. And therefore, my question is not a question, actually. It's a call of action. The call of action that we must do to ensure that this does not happen is to take advantage, because the enemy of your enemy is my friend. Right now, the country, and yesterday opinion polls are showing that 76 to 80% of the country is anti the Ruto government, anti the Ruto coalition. In fact, it has swallowed Ruto, it has swallowed ODM, it has swallowed all the enablers of that government. And the public jointly, nearly 80% is anti this government. And that being the case, it means that the public mood, the public displeasure can be used and can be mobilized into a resistance. And that resistance on the streets can aid the resistance in the courts. And because there is despondency, some of the people who are very angry with this government are angry for selfish reasons. But for me, it does not matter why they are angry. What matters is that there is a lot of anger out there. We must be strategic. We must be definite. We must be conniving. We must also act like the thief is acting. You must set a thief to catch a thief. We cannot go there with a Bible and wearing the bishop's clock when the man is wearing a gun and a machete in his back every night against the Kenyan people. We must redefine ourselves. We must begin to collaborate and bring together even people we never thought were allies. Because unless we do that, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, where we are in the middle of 2024, God forbid where we will be in the middle of 2025, unless we as a people rise up. Finally, on the Adani question, I want to give this undertaking that I think because people have been confused about the two processes in court. One was a judicial review by the LSK, and mine is a constitutional application which seeks to nullify the matter completely. I believe that from the 17th, the High Court will have merged the two matters to moto, and that this matter of the JKIA will be one of the first times we can draw blood from the veins of William Ruto. A very thorough process has been put in place. I'm limited by the rules of the courts, what I may say or not say, but I want to learn for now by saying, Kenyans, we are in the most dangerous time we have ever been since the establishment of the Kenyan Republic in 1964.
Thank you so much, Tony, for powerful submission. I'm aligned with everything that you've said, especially where you've said now we need all hands on deck. This movement needs all of us to work together. If you think of working as a separate group or is acting under a separate organization, then you have not properly diagnosed who the enemy is and who we are.
Marge, what's going on?
Doctor, you can't hear me? I don't think Doctor can hear me. Dr. Harry can hear me.
Continue, let me text him.
Okay. The way Tony has probably tried to shape and make you understand how this government, this corrupt government cannot be defeated, cannot be beaten by separate. When we work in sectarian parties, we have to unite because we are literally at a very dangerous point in this country with all the tyranny that is creeping in. I'd like to give the microphone to welcome Nelson on the space. He was Armenia. He was a little bit late. Before I give him the microphone, we just want to acknowledge your presence. I'll have two speakers go, and then I'll give the microphone to Nelson. If you hear my alarm go off, know you have exhausted your 3 minutes. We have a heavy request line, and we have to get as many speakers as we can to commentate on the state of the nation. So I'll give the microphone to Tom Boyer Jr. Can you hear me? Tom Boyer, are you there? Tom Boyer, we cannot hear me. Samuel Kasuni, Samuel.
Yes, yes, I'm here. You. Are you able to hear me?
Cannot hear me. Samuel,
yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Samuel, hold on. Tomboya, go ahead.
Tom is bado ako kwa listener.
Well, let me proceed. I hope you are hearing me. Kindly confirm with 100.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm speaking. Thank you. I want to. I hope you are hearing me. Kindly confirm with 100. Well, I just want to be very precise. There is one observation I've made so far. And with regards to the comments by Tony Gachoka, we really need to unite, and we really need to craft a strategy that is similar, almost similar to the strategy of our enemy. Because when we are in a ring, we want to fight. The rules are always the same, and it's always a must that you stay on the ring until you win. So what I've always observed with the government is that they have strategists that coin what they have to do, what narrative they have to set in the country, and also they have a system whereby they engage bloggers to keep confusing Kenyans with different narratives. How I wish we can also be such strategic. We also need to get serious bloggers, for example, with an aim of countering and focusing on the bloggers themselves. For example, the government, in a way, managed to identify key leaders or key revolutionaries who are very influential among us. And they decided to share sentiments that divides these key revolutionaries. I suggest that we should be able to focus on also dividing the government bloggers. Let us even consider going for personal and private lives to confuse them. That is just one of the suggestions I want to make. Another thing that is an unpopular opinion is that the only strategy that is going to work for us is the streets. That is what made Ruto for the first time to say, Kenyans, I concede. So the streets is the only thing that is going to help us. Let us just keep organizing on how we can make sure we get back to the streets. Any other thing, focusing on a legal approach that we are going to get salvation through our judicial system, that one I believe is very delusional, because the constitution itself is an instrument of power and they have strategically used it. Other instruments of power, which is money and the gun, they have it. We only have the people. Let us utilize our strength as much as we can. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tomboya. I'll pass the microphone to Samuel Kasuni. Samuel?
After just a moment before Samuel gets on, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Clayson Monyela, all the way from South Africa. Thanks for joining, and feel free to pick the mic, or I'll send you the mic if you want to say something that's really welcome. And Dr. Eve from Uganda, and we have also our brothers and sisters who are coming from the continent just joining in the conversation. Back to you, Afro.
Oh, thank you so much. Welcome again, Clayton. As what is being said, yes, the only language I believe Ruto understands is the language of the streets. We have seen what kind of president and he is. We have seen him begin to kill youths, abduct us, and everyone, especially the generals who understand and those who have been fighting this for a long time, they understand what the Nyayo era was like. And all the reversals of the democratic gains have started happening slowly. Tyranny always creeps up on you. It is creeping on us slowly. We all know the analogy of how to boil a frog. If you put a frog in hot water, it will quickly jump out. But if you increase it, the temperature slowly, you will eventually cook it. And that's what's happening in our country. The temperatures are increasing. And all the alarmists, when you have Dr. Miguna, Tony Gachoka saying that the temperature is increasing. We are seeing now we are going back into the dark days. We have seen the parliament, all the checks and balances are being neutralized. This is the most defunct parliament we've ever had in the history of the country, where not only is the president looking to bribe them, the MPs want to be bribed. The opposition neutralized. ODM and their MPs are the ones singing praises to Ruto and defending his policies. That is the IBC not functioning. And those people are thinking we're going to have a political solution by forming a political party, and we are going to compete with Ruto on a political contest. We cannot. That is out of the question. And there are people who still believe that. So the only solution is mass action. And that's why we must keep on injecting, we must keep on letting people know that this is the course of action we have to deal with Ruto. Because even he has already started saying that you want to table a parliament bill to increase the term limits to 7 years. Imagine. 7 years. Then after 14 years, he'll take over the term. Who says he has to be there for 2 years? So we can see this happening slowly, and that's why we must struggle. We must kill this baby in its infancy before it becomes this demonic idea. Must be killed right now. We must take over as the citizens of this country who love this country. Anyway, I'll give the microphone to Samuel. Samuel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Afrocentric and Marge, for hosting the space. I do agree with you when you talk about we can't use a political process. At the same time, I think we also have to be cautious of the interests of, we might be very emotionally drained that we feel like demonstrations are the best way to remove the current regime. But I also wonder it should also go parallel with another political process, because we have so many people, so many countries which are like, so many countries have a lot of interest in our country and might not be able to sustain the Mandamano way for a long time period of time. Secondly, we are fighting too much on when you look at the media, in the spaces, in the TL, there's a lot of infighting. So I think we need to look for a common ground where we can be able to cool down the temperatures and people just come together for common purpose. And as Kashoka said, the biggest problem we have right now is we have parties that are owned by the individuals, where people can be called together. I know right now, or DM, they are meeting in Mombasa, and whatever Raila will say is what will happen. Same to the other parties. So I don't know which way we'll be able to build parties. Like those of us who have privilege to be in the Western countries, we know that parties are owned by people and all leaders are contributed from the people. So that is another way we should be running parallel or many events at one time. As we call for Mandamano, civic education, other people should also be concentrating on the political system, so that if all these other fails, we can be able to copy what happened in 2002, where we had a very popular party, the popular party that was able to, Moi could not even be able to rig. That is. So let's look for a way of, also some people should also look for a way of how do we support nurturing a party that belongs to people, so that we take this away power from these parties that are owned by individuals. So that is my contribution. As also, can we have all the people are influential? You may not agree, but you can agree on a certain calendar whereby, like we agree, like next week, we are going to discuss about IBC, so that every platform, every space, every influential blogger, and you have said some of the bloggers we need, even if it's to buy them, we all talk about IBC to put pressure so that we can be able to accelerate the process. Because right now, I understand the reason why IBC is not working is because of some petitions that have been filed by some people, and they are mark timing. So how do we know that those people are not also being used by the government to delay the IBC process? Secondly, if IBC is constituted today and we still have ODM and UDA, yeah, what choice will he have? So unless we have a third force, a political system, which we own, I don't see even constituting an IBC way to help us, because we still have the same parties, which we have to choose between a thief and a lesser thief. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Samuel, for that. Marge, you had your hand up?
No, I was just trying to put a signal through that his time is up, but you then came in with the timer. That's perfect. We had queued Nelson next, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Over to you, Nelson. Welcome to the space, and take it away.
Thank you, Marge. I have 3 minutes.
You can take more as one of the invited guests.
Okay, thank you, Marge. Thank you, Afrocentric and Book 10. So today I'm going to be speaking about not only about Adani and JKIA deal, but also about SHIF, because the Adani deal is not just about a transaction over Kenya's largest airport. It's a symbol of how powerful private interest can manipulate public assets for profit. And it's a symbol of state capture that when this government came into power, they were shouting at the top of their voices that they're going to form commissions of inquiry to look into the issue of state capture, but in essence, they were actually trying to remove the other state capture. Like they were trying to remove the people in the Uhuru regime who had captured the state so that they can also capture the state. And this is what we are seeing happening today with Jayesh Saini, with Adil Kawaja. You have seen Adil Kawaja used to be KCB chairman. When he was in KCB, Uhuru harassed him a lot because he was helping Ruto to launder money. And when Ruto became president, he put him in charge of Safaricom so that, they can continue with their state capture. Unhinged, because now there is no Uhuru to try and block them. And you have seen how Adil Kawaja has been instrumental in even the Adani case. They are the legal representatives of Adani in court today through Denton's HHM, Harris, and I've forgotten this law firm from London. So where Adil Kawaja used to be the CEO before he became the chairman of Safaricom. Now he's the partner in this law firm, where Nick Ruto is also a partner, but it's not announced. Nobody knows, but he's not even practiced for a long time. Nick Ruto has practiced for, I think, about 3 years, and already he's been elevated to this level. You can see a lot of conflict of interest and many things happening in the background, that tells you that this is really state capture. And Adil Kawaja's friend Jayesh Saini as well has captured the healthcare sector. And this is what I really want to emphasize today, because Jayesh Saini is also the link to Adani. He is the one who took President Ruto to Modi and also to Adani himself, Gautam Adani. And you must also remember that Raila is not clean in this business, because before the elections, Jayesh Saini took Raila Odinga to Modi. If you go and check the news, you will see Raila Odinga traveled to India before the elections. So normally what this state capture cabal do before the elections, they place their bets on both sides of both sides of the political divide, so that whichever side gets into power, they still hold on to their businesses, because they're businessmen. And for them, politicians are just rent seekers. They're the landlords. They're the ones who control the money. Jayesh Saini for the last 10 years has been controlling the teachers' insurance plus police insurance. And in the last 10 years, he has siphoned 150 billion from TSC. And this case was in Parliament last year in November, but the MPs were paid off and they did not continue with the inquiry. Someone went to court. The case went silent. The case went cold earlier this year in March because the 150 billion that was siphoned from the teachers' insurance means that the teachers do not get help. First of all, Jayesh Saini has over 20 companies in the health sector. He has the most famous companies that are known by people is Lifecare, Bliss Healthcare is known, but there are so many other companies that he has, over 20 of them. And if the police or the teachers do not go to these clinics, they are either denied service, or it's a prolonged procedure, or the private clinic will be asked to give like 10, 15, 20% discount. If you refuse, you'll be told to go to Bliss. So these were some of the things that the MPs were asking Jayesh Saini through MAKL, which is the medical administrator. And remember, this MAKL, I call it Makil, so the insurance company that Jayesh owns, illegally siphoned this 150 billion shillings from the TSC. and nobody is saying anything about it. Also, this year in March, when the contract was about to be renewed, so the PS, I've forgotten which ministry, but the PS went to the president and other people as well. They went to Ruto and they told him that this MAKL is not working and the teachers are suffering, the police are suffering. We need to look for a new insurance broker or insurance administrator. And Ruto told them, okay, fine, you guys look for another consortium of insurance brokers, and then we will send out a tendering process. But behind everybody's back, Jayesh Saini's company came back. And up to now, it's Jayesh Saini's company that is still siphoning money from TSC, money from police. And now, in the new shift, they're the ones who are doing administration. So they have a company called Star Discovery Insurance. Star Discovery Insurance is owned by some 4 companies from Hong Kong. And this Star Discovery is a company that is one of the companies Jayesh Saini is owning. So he's a proxy in this company. And this Star Discovery is the one that is going to run SHIF, the insurance claims at SHIF. Apiero is a company that is being fronted, but in the background, it is Jayesh Saini's company that has actually done the system that has failed. This system that is not working is from Jayesh Saini. It's the same exact system that they are using to run the teachers' TSC insurance. And so the 104 billion it's a big scandal. It's a hoax. There is no system that was procured. The only thing they did was to take this system and make it look like it came from India, but it's the same system that is being used by teachers' insurance, same exact, it's a copyright. So this is a huge scandal that should be challenged in court. And Tony, I also welcome you to, if you can, to put a team together and sue these people, because this is totally unacceptable. They cannot sell our assets. They cannot sell our people to go and work in farms and to work as maids in foreign countries. And then they cannot bring Indians to our own country to kill us, because over 10,000 teachers in this insurance fraud have died because either there is a prolonged procedure or someone is in dire need of being admitted to the ICU, and the insurance guys will be like, no, you cannot admit him, just treat as outpatient, and then later this patient dies. It's a horror story, to say the least, and these people need to be in jail. We need to speak up, just as the way we spoke up, because of the finance bill. Kenyans need to speak up. We need to, show our anger to these people, because if we do not do it, either we are going to die, on our knees. We're going to die, and so many people who are hopeless, they will just die. Like the teachers are dying in silence, the police are dying in silence, and now through the shift, now everybody will die in silence. So if we don't speak up, if we don't go to the streets, the same thing that Jayesh has done for the last 10 years with teachers and police is now going to happen to everybody, because shift now is for everybody, and they're going to siphon money from shift for the next 10 years or even more. So Jayesh Saini has a loan of about 7 billion in DTB, and if we refuse for them to take over SHIF, he might go bankrupt, because these people, the way they operate, Jayesh Saini and Adil Kawaja, they're connected to a company in the UAE. This company is called NMC Healthcare. NMC Healthcare almost brought down healthcare in the UAE. You can imagine a country like the UAE, so big, so rich, but there was one Indian called B.R. Shetty who almost brought their healthcare down, the entire country. And these people are connected to Jayesh Saini. This guy, Biar Shetty, he had to run away to India because he was embroiled in a $4.5 billion scandal. And, this almost brought down the entire hospital because, the money was siphoned out of the UAE. Part of the money was directed to Jayesh Saini's companies as loans, but they never paid back. So this is the same thing, same way they are operating in Kenya. And this 7 billion loan that Jayesh Saini took from DTB, normally they take these loans, and you cannot have you cannot have your assets to be less and your loans to be more. Your assets need to be more, and then your loans need to be below your assets. But the way BR Shetty operated, his assets were less than his liabilities, and that's how he became bankrupt. And the same thing is happening in Kenya through Jayesh Saini. His liabilities are more than his assets, meaning if he doesn't get business from the government today, he becomes bankrupt. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that he is not going to siphon money from the government the way he's been doing, because the only reason he's not paying, you hear, MTRH is owed, I don't know, 1 billion. I don't know which hospital is owed 100 billion from the insurance claims. The only reason why this money is not being paid to these hospitals is because his liabilities are too many. He has to service his loans, service what? So in return, he will not offer the right service. He will not pay these hospitals, and now it's going to be at a national scale, not only the teachers and the police. It's going to be everybody who's going to suffer because of the unscrupulous business deals and state capture. So we need to stop this, and the only way out is protests. If you look at France, for example, in 2023, the government came up with an extension of the retirement age. So they wanted people to retire at later ages. And the people were like, no, you cannot do this. You haven't consulted the people. And people went to the streets. People protested. The protests were huge. I'm sure you saw them. And the government had to listen to the people. The world over, in Bangladesh, it's the protests that brought down the government. In the US, it's the protests that, hold the democracy. In so many other countries, it's protests that hold the politicians at bay. It's the protests that make the politicians understand that the power is not on them. The power belongs to the people. And it's only through protest, by disrupting every day, by disrupting parliament, disrupting everything that works normally. That's when politicians understand that this power does not belong to us. And this is exactly what we need to do in Kenya. Otherwise, if we stay, let's prepare for 2027. This is exactly what they want. They don't care about 2027. They will steal up to 2027. The only way to stop them is today to go to the streets. So thank you, Afrocentric. You can take it back.
Thank you so much, Nelson, for that in-depth analysis of everything that's happening. I would pass the microphone now to Culture KE, Kenya Media.
Thank you, Afrocentric. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I had a suggestion, and Nelson did not bring it up, and I'm so happy here, Nelson, that you're here, because I did DM you yesterday. And I hope you don't mind I talk about this, because you did post something yesterday, because you were saying kind of French lawyers are expensive and you needed some assistance. So I just wanted to bring that up. Maybe you're too humble to bring it up, that Nelson has been doing a very, very good job. He does need our assistance. He does need lawyers. And he did post his numbers, guys. Let's changia for him so that he can be able to fight these demons that are against him. The other thing I wanted to ask Miguna, I know he's here, Nelson, Maj, I don't know which country you're in. Why don't we have a Diaspora International Day of Protest? We are actually in countries, because usually I go back and forth from the US to Kenya, 6 months in Kenya, 6 months in the US, because I work remote. Why we are in countries where protest, we're not going to be shot down. why don't we all do a diaspora space and we do an international day of protest? There are a lot of Kenyans in London. There are a lot of Kenyans in Berlin, a lot of Kenyans in New York, a lot of Kenyans in Atlanta, a lot of Kenyans in Tennessee, all these countries that we go and we protest. So we have our colleagues in Kenya, but now we take over the mantle too. Rather than just monetary help, we do our protest, and it will be international because Kenya, I've been to Greece, there are Kenyans there. And we do our protest because they are going also to highlight this on an international level. And we do 2 days. We do a weekend, we do a Saturday and a Sunday. If you have your kids, you have your kids come out. Your parents can come out. All the African friends who we have, Nigerians, people from West Africa, South Africa, all of them who are supporting Kenyans, they'll come out. If you have friends who are international, if you're in Europe, your friends will come out. I really, really, really think this will make an impact because everybody's saying, hey, we need to protest, but we in the diaspora have not done our part in the protest. I know we are all contributing in some ways. We need to do a flyer. We need to do a big diaspora space. And everybody who's in the diaspora has no excuse not to come out. We can all come out in all international cities where we are and really put this guy to shame in the international media, because that's the other push that we've not done and will bring the momentum to another level. So I'm urging all the people who are outside Kenya, we'll all go back. Me, I want to go home. I don't want to be here, honestly. I want to be full-time in Kenya. But at the same time, systems are not working for you. The biggest investors, instead of Ruto coming here and ajaribu kugetu wazungu, should be coming here and talking to the diaspora people. We're the ones who want to invest back home. So I'm urging everybody, let's do an international space and really get out there. 2 days, hardcore protesting. We are free. We are here. Nobody is going to bother us. We can be able to protest every single day we want to, anytime we want to. We can do that. So before I just land, again, let's do a diaspora.
You and land, your time is up here.
Okay, I'm just wrapping it up. Let's do an international space. And guys, please help out Nelson. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for highlighting that fact. We need to support Nelson, please. Nelson, if you can put some of those details on the Jumbotron, we'll be happy to put the word out because you're doing an amazing job. And Culture, I'm not sure how much you know about what's been happening in the diaspora circles, but there have been protests held. I know protests were done in London, protests were done in Los Angeles, protests were done in Texas, Dallas, protests were done in Germany. The diaspora has been very much supporting what this movement has been doing from the get-go. So unless you're calling for another round, another spark of protests, but we have really, Kenyans in the diaspora have really supported everything this movement is going.
Another round. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Another round.
Another round. Oh, got you. Yes, another round. Maj?
Yes, thanks so much, Afra. I just wanted to say I put the link that Nelson shared on the Jumbotron. Thanks, Nelson. Guys, do support him if you're able to. And also thank you for the good work that you do. And talking of protest, I'd like to highlight the upcoming protest in the Netherlands. They're protesting around the Mashujaa Day. I put it on my highlights, but I'm going to put it again on the, just on the comment section. And at this time, I would like to give the general, the opportunity to chime in as we continue. I know a lot of you are waiting on the mic, but that's just fine. Nelson, your hand is up. Please say something before the general comes in.
I texted you. So we need to have CPM Mwangi. He's an expert in PPP, so it would be nice if he speaks. I think he requested the mic.
Okay, let me check on him and add him. Meanwhile, as I add him, Dr. Tari, take a go.
Maja, I would wait for CPM Mwangi to speak first. I think we were expecting him. So Nelson is right.
Okay, then let me remove someone and then, there he is.
I've added him.
Okay, so CPM Mwangi, take it away and then we go to general and then we can proceed like that. Yeah.
My apologies. I'm winding up an event. I'll suggest the general to go far or I'll be given like 2 minutes and find a place to settle.
Okay, thank you. So that bounces back to Dr. Nur unless we can give fixed.
Oh, okay, all right. Maj, thank you very much. The discussion has been very good. And I thank everybody for their contributions. I think everything said I embrace. The only thing I would like to say is that these discussions need much more focus. Laser beam focus, as I always say, because if we are not singularly focused, we will confuse the people and we will not be able to identify the principal problems and be able to design strategies and tactics of solving them. So why do I say that? I have heard people talk as if there was democracy and the Bill of Rights were respected and the rule of law was there before Ruto or during Kibaki's reign, or that the only problem was Moi. And I think we have to be able to correct that misapprehension and misconception. Since the so-called independence, since 1963, there are basic things that have not changed and that need to be transformed. And the reason why I say that is the Kenyan state, and I've said this repeatedly, was not intended to empower the African citizen of Kenya. It was not meant for Africans. The Kenyan state was an extractive state that was only set up to extract raw resources, exploit the labor, and dominate the people. And the state was meant to have Africans as mascots representing the international interests of capital. So that when Ruto is there, his purpose and aim is to steal as much as he can, but ultimately to serve the metropole, Washington, London, Berlin, Paris, and these major capitals of the West. That is why when Ruto goes to New York, or he goes to Washington, D.C., or he goes to London, he can walk on the street, almost like an ordinary citizen. But he cannot do that in Kenya. Because in Kenya, his lord is an imperial lord. But in London, where he has lords that are supposed to be giving instructions on what to do in Kenya, he can behave as an ordinary citizen. In Kenya, he has a motorcade the length of River Nile. Whereas in Washington, he carries his own umbrella. You can see the discordance between the behavior that these people exhibit in foreign countries vis-a-vis how they behave in our own country. In our own country, they are slave masters and we are slaves. And in foreign countries, they are ordinary citizens. And this mentality, this structural defect, this structural setup is what has to be changed. That is why a lot of us are saying the problem is with the system. The problem is with the architecture and the structure of the state. The problem is with the institutions that were set up not to serve us, not to accord us dignity, not to preside over a democratic, fair, and just system, but to oppress us for as much as possible so that it is easier now to exploit us and to take the resources away from us. So what is the solution? I think it is wrong. And I know many people or some people will disagree with me, but I think it is fundamentally wrong to talk about the IBC, to talk about the police, to talk about the judiciary, or any of these systems that were set up to preside over the state that I've just described. The entire system is rotten and cannot be reformed. If you set up an IBC today, Ruto will put his cronies, the likes of Sudi or people like him, so that when any election comes, whether you dissolve parliament or you don't, the people that will be elected will behave worse than the ones that you have currently. So you would have done absolutely nothing, zero. You would have scored at your own goal. If you say we reform the judiciary, so who presides over the reform? Who will appoint that person? It will be Ruto. So who do you think Ruto will appoint? Somebody worse than Koome. So that the system that was supposed to exploit you, that was supposed to repress you, is even more efficient. If you say we reform the police, who will appoint the committee that will preside over the reform? The same Ruto. Ultimately, my point is this. The main problem is a political problem. It is a structural problem. It is an institutional problem. And if we don't overhaul the existing state and structures, then you cannot solve the problem. We will be going round like fools forever. And this is what we have done since 1963. Yes, we have had struggles. And yes, we've had veterans of struggles, and I've been one of them that have been struggling. But we've achieved so little. For instance, we managed to stop Moi from continuing until he died. So he ended up saying, look, I repeal Section 2A and I reintroduce multi-party politics. But then they came around, mutated, and took over the multi-party politics. And they're the ones who have been controlling. So nothing much changed. Yes, the previous constitution, the old one, allowed Moi to detain us anytime he wanted, to torture us at Nyayo torture chambers anytime he wanted, to force as many people into exile as he wanted. And yes, we made sure that a new constitution came into being, which is what we have, the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And people died. Thousands of people died. Thousands of people were tortured. Thousands of people were exiled. Ngugi is still in exile, for example, right? I mean, Chelagat Mutai died a pauper because of it. Bildad Kagia died a pauper because of it. Pinto was murdered. So when we say there has been an ongoing struggle from 1963, we are not joking. Anybody who wants to say that, only Gen Z started struggling, that person will have to be liberated from their colonial mentality. Many, many, many people have suffered to have us now be able to speak and challenge a sitting president the way that we are doing. But it's not been enough. So what is it we have to do? Because state capture is the norm, is the order of things. Adani will not go. Adani is actually Ruto. The courts will not be able to untangle all these things. This is not the work for judges. This is a political problem, and you're not going to solve it through forming political parties. Because the system, the electoral system, is completely colonized by Ruto and his group and others. The system is not free. So the same way that Chebukati announced Ruto as president, and whether he won fairly or not is of no consequence. The fact is, the system was rigged from day one. How do we liberate the system? To liberate the system and everything will fall into place, we have to remove Ruto from power. Let's not dance around this issue. The problem is at the top. The problem is at State House. With Ruto out of power, we can transform the system. The system below him will collapse on its own weight once he's removed from power. And the best way to remove Ruto from power, and this is documented, is patented historically since 1789, the French Revolution, is people power. This is how it's been done. This is how the Bangladeshi did it. This is how the Sri Lankans did it. This is how every other society has done it. It cannot be done any other way. I know many will ask, how do we do it if we are not united? You don't need everybody united. That's another illusion. That's another distraction. The Cuban Revolution was not brought by even a half of the population. The Bangladeshi Revolution was not brought by even 2 million people. And how many people are in Bangladesh? You don't need 5% of Kenyans to remove Ruto from power. You just need 1 to 2 million people. That's a very small fraction of Nairobi's population. And really, you don't need anybody else anywhere else except in Nairobi. Ruto can be removed from power from Nairobi. Ruto will not be removed from power from Washington or from New York or from Toronto or from London. Ruto will be removed from power in Nairobi. So we should not dance around some of these things because the formula is well known and the strategy is scientific. That the moment you have a significant number of people protesting on the street, even the police cannot intervene because we have less than 250,000 policemen in Kenya. So if you have 2 million people, the police cannot shoot. Remember, on June 25th this year, Ruto had already fled Nairobi. Ruto was not in Nairobi. He had already run away. He was in Narok, waiting to go to Eldoret and then probably from there, Uganda. So even on the 25th of June, Ruto was ready to leave power. The problem is that we were infiltrated and we had voices through NIS announcing that people should not march to State House, people should go home. These are the things we have to deal with. These are internal contradictions that we must deal with. These are the contradictions that were not there in Bangladesh. The students were being killed on the street, and by the way, more died in Bangladesh than died in Kenya. But they stayed on the street every single day and they liberated their country. And the rest is history. And we can see the transformation of Bangladesh with our own eyes right now in real time. And they were not shouting at their counterparts that were not in Bangladesh. Like the person presiding over the transition was not even in Bangladesh. He's some old retired professor that was living in Paris. The same thing happened in Iran. The Ayatollah was in Paris when the Iranian Revolution took place. It was not in Iran. So a lot of people are ignorant of history and are ignorant about what is happening. Revolutions happen all over the world organically, but in a disciplined, focused, fearless manner. But it has to be consistent. Revolutionaries must identify who their enemy is or enemies are singularly and not be confused and not be distracted. Anybody telling us that we petition, we collect a million signatures to remove Ruto is either working for Ruto or for NIS or from the international intelligence agencies, or is just a fool, because you're not going to remove Ruto through petitions. Anybody who tell you that, oh, we just need one member of parliament to bring an impeachment motion is also either fool or working for Ruto or working for the international intelligence agencies. Because Ruto will not be impeached. He owns the members of parliament. He has given them the freedom to loot the illegal CDF as much as they want. So as far as they are concerned, the person who is giving them millions, hundreds of millions of public money every year to loot is their boss. They are going to salute at Ruto. They are going to worship him. They are going to kneel before him. They are going to kiss him. They are going to do everything he wants. And that's exactly what they're doing. So if you have any doubt, then look at the speed at which they impeached Gachagua. Gachagua, who was Ruto's running mate just 2 years ago. Gachagua, who apparently spent billions in Ruto's campaign. Gachagua, who campaigned for Ruto in Kikuyu, in Mount Kenya, and had Ruto, quote unquote, win the election. If they can turn against Gachagua, who the hell are you? You have not given Ruto even one dime. You have not campaigned for him. Who are you? Why should Ruto care about you? And as you can see, he doesn't care about you. Now, a lot of people say, oh, revolutions are violent. Revolutions are uncertain. What is more violent than Ruto? Because I don't understand these people when they make these arguments. Since independence, how many people have been killed who have been so innocent, killed by the state? So let's start with the easiest. Kenyatta killed Pew Pinto. What crime did he commit? What violence did Pinto inflict on Kenya? Who did Pinto steal from? Do you know? Because there is none. So go to Mboya, who had helped him in his strategies even to destroy Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. So why did he kill Mboya? Tom Mboya was a brilliant man, young, vibrant, charismatic, eloquent, a super mobilizer. They killed him. For what? What had he done? How about Dr. Robert Ouko, just recently? Another one. What had he done? How about Odhiambo Mbai, a quintessential gentleman, a super scholar? What did he do? All he did was bring us devolution. He's the one who introduced this devolution idea, not Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is an appropriator. He appropriates people's intellectual properties and say it is his. Odhiambo Mbai brought us the devolution. Did he live to see it or its benefits? No. How about Musando? How about the Gen Zs that Ruto killed and called violent and he called criminals? So if this system and the president, successive ones, have been killing Kenyans, killing demonstrators, unarmed protesters, what will stop them? The constitution hasn't stopped them. The legal system hasn't stopped them. Court orders hasn't stopped them. The quote-unquote democratic, governance hasn't stopped anybody. The West hasn't stopped them. So who will stop them? We are the only ones who can stop them. I speak from experience because I was there, I've been there. I mean, people pretend that they were not there in 2018 when we were protesting and I was abducted from my house and tortured and sedated and dropped dead in Dubai and left for dead. And then forced out and blocked from coming to Kenya for 5 years. And people pretend this did not happen. And people pretend we have not seen anything, we have not suffered, they are the ones suffering now. And people insist that no, only one person should be suffering every day and dying for us. But we should not be risking our lives. Because somebody should be leading, should be coming to lead us, should be our liberator. I want to remind you that Che Guevara, who probably is the dean of revolutionary politics in the world, said, and I've been saying this, there is no liberator. Nobody is going to liberate you. And nobody must. And nobody should. You must liberate yourself, every one of us. Because if you don't want to liberate yourself, how will the other person liberate you? If you don't want to rest and go onto the street, because you are saying Miguna's children are not here, so how will my children being there help you? So say, for example, they are not there, which means they are not suffering under Ruto. So which means whether Ruto goes or not doesn't matter to them. So who is suffering? You are suffering. They are not suffering. And this is the reality. We have to just face the reality. You are suffering. Some of us have sacrificed our lives for you. And some of us continue to agitate, to talk about these things, and to expose them, and to call for change. We could easily forget about everything and continue with our lives. Why haven't we? Because we are committed to an egalitarian, equitable, fair, and just social order. That's why we are doing it. We are doing it because it is the right thing to do. And we are doing it from wherever we are. And we are doing it with whatever ammunition we have. So if you have the pen and that's all you can wield, use it. If you have the eloquence and that's all you can do, use it. If you have bazookas and you can come in large numbers and use them, use them. If you have numbers, which is what we are saying is our best weapon, our numbers, because it's very difficult to defeat 1 million plus people marching unarmed peacefully. If you attack those people and you kill them, you cannot survive because nobody will let you survive. The world cannot let you survive. Yes, we know the horrors of Palestine, and so far the Israelis have gotten away with it, but it will not go on forever. I can assure you. Now, Kenya is a bit different. The Americans will not be able to do what they are doing in Palestine in Kenya. They will not protect Ruto because Ruto has no benefit that he gives them that they cannot replicate or they cannot replace. Which means that if Ruto is removed today, they can use somebody else, they hope, as long as there is no revolution. If there is a revolution, the Americans would want to do business with the people that have taken power and try to corrupt them the way they did with Museveni, with other people. But if it is a genuine organic revolution that is grounded on the genuine grievances of the people and are supported by the people and owned by the people, it cannot be sabotaged. They have tried many times to overthrow the government of Burkina Faso. They have failed so far. And that government is working for the people because it's a revolutionary government. They tell us there is no benefits the revolutionaries have brought. We know the benefits Thomas Sankara brought in Burkina Faso before they assassinated them. We know that child mortality rate dropped almost to zero. We know that a dry country became food secure. We know that gender equality became a reality in the 1970s. We are not talking 2000 and something. In the 1970s, we know that corruption was eliminated in 4 years. And we know that there was no repression, that the Burkinabe called themselves the upright men and women of the world, and the world respected them. So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, the only challenge we have and we must confront is what are the mechanisms, what are the strategies of organizing ourselves and mobilizing the people so that Ruto can be removed from power this year, not next year, in 2024. The material conditions are ripe. In fact, we want Ruto to go ahead and do exactly what he's doing faster. The removal of Gachagua helps us because he alienates a large population from Mount Kenya that had hoped that he had brought them nirvana. He has just shown them that he doesn't care, that he has no gratefulness, that he doesn't reciprocate, that he betrays. That's good. That's a good recruitment area for us. Disillusionment, anger is good for us. When Ruto fights his own people, when UDA is divided into two, that's excellent for us. We should make sure that we encourage them to fight more, because in fact, if they can kill each other, that would be very good for us. Because then we don't have to do much. We just have to go and take over, because they have already killed each other. So let Ruto and Raila fight with Gachagua, and we should encourage Gachagua not to surrender, to fight them, so that this elite, even if they kill each other, would be good for the Kenyan state. But let us continue relentlessly to organize and mobilize for a bigger day. And hopefully, Mashujaa Day could be the beginning or could be it. But boycott, I have a problem with. Because really, we boycott what? This needs proactive, active action. Talking about IBC, we don't need it. Talking about dissolving parliament, if you dissolve this parliament, Ruto will call fresh elections, only parliamentary elections, and he will have worse people than the current parliament. But the moment Ruto goes, parliament dissolved by itself or on its own weight, all the institutions collapse, the system is gone, and we can build from down up. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Daktari, for your submissions and, of course, for always staying true to the course and for sharing your experience, your lived experience that really we need to hear and really also take into consideration. That was really a powerful submission, and thanks for that. As we continue, because CPM was to go actually before Daktari, but let's also not forget to keep connecting and building a network, and we will keep checking on the time. I see we still have a lot of requests coming in, so let's really come to the point when we get the mic and not really repeat the points that have already been discussed, so that at least we have more people have a chance to speak. CPM Mwangi, go, then we go to African, and then Lady Justice, and 3 minutes each. Or CPM will give you more as an invited speaker, and then African, Lady Justice in 6 in that order. CPM?
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't know if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, so just to correct something, I'm an associate. I will not consider myself at the expert level, but I know enough to comment on the issue that is going on. As I was telling Nelson, PPPs, they are usually more of a negotiation because one end is incapacitated of something and the other one able to provide it, but on terms that it's a quid pro quo. It's not a matter of discrimination. And this deal has been challenged all over by all parties. I think the better part of this week, it was challenged by an organization called P3 World Council. It's an affiliation majorly in Asia, but does provide services across the world. And they gave their case yesterday, which I think I can try to read it, about first is Adani having exclusive ownership. I did a summary of that 315-page feasibility report, and you will realize that the only thing that Adani will not have control of is the security operations and perhaps screening services for diseases and the like. Everything else, it will be by them. And to make matters worse is they wanted laws to be changed to act in favor of everything that they are doing. So that is the worst red flag, and that by itself is a breach of the Constitution. And this is the point where
I think we're losing you.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now. Please proceed.
Yeah.
I think he's having networking issues again.
Sorry.
Okay, so try again.
Sorry, as I was saying, they were trying to say that it's the petition committee that is supposed to handle the matter, but that is incorrect because the petition handles matters of PPP, but not in the aspect that it has done right now, because even aside changing of the laws, there is the aspect of lack of transparency. And also another problem is the directorate of PPP last year gave a checklist that a contracting authority is supposed to provide to an independent transaction advisor to do the feasibility. And if you see it, I'll try to post it on the group. Everything there done has failed because they said the first thing must not be charged with tax evasion, whatever it operated, issues of fraud and bankruptcy, being blacklisted by country, all of those have failed. And I don't understand the kind of games that we are being taken by the ministry involved, because one time they say they are doing contract negotiations, another time they are saying they are doing due diligence. There is no way you can do contract negotiations yet you have not done due diligence. If diligence is done and the contract is at this stage, which is they are calling the commercial clause, we should see that report. You know, when they are negotiating before, in terms of submitting, in terms of pre-qualification and the like, now they can hide the details. That is the process. But when it gets to the commercial, you're supposed to know everything. So this is where also the problem is. And according to the law, the deal can either be removed or vacated. Well, either KAA cancels it because it has those powers as the contracting authority, or the PPP committee refuses to give an award, allowing it to go to the financial clause. Now is when the operations are nearly kicking off. But now you see the problem we have an administration that is bullying. It's sort of bullying everyone, whatever it is that they are doing. So PPP, I won't say much about KAA because it's a statutory corporation. It can be bullied anyhow. But PPP Directorate is an independent office, just like courts. But I think they are bullied. Even the current one, I'm still trying to find out what is going on because I don't think the person who is there is actually the person calling the shots. Now, because now, as you have seen with the regime that is happening, the commonest way, which is actually also provided in the document, is civil unrest. Because you have to realize when we demonstrate later on, after the project has been signed off, it will be the duty of the government to keep us off the airport, and it will not be an easy thing. And you see, let me tell you, I'm in the construction space, mostly as a project manager. Stalling projects are not a good idea at all, particularly public projects. You can imagine, you see, one problem we have with the JKIA, you cannot negotiate it as they want, like what happened with Expressway. Expressway right now, it just offers convenience of time, particularly for the guys from the airport to the extended parts of the city. If right now Expressway is removed out of the picture, we just go back to traffic and the like. If you wake up tomorrow morning, JKIA is not functioning, it will be a blow to the economy. So we need to evaluate what exactly is happening. Countries like what are they called? UK had a proposal to expand the airport since 2003. They came to approve it in 2018. These were just rumors here and there, renovations, 2013, 2017. The proposal began coming, I think, around COVID. All of a sudden, we want to sign it. We have to add a little pinch of seriousness in terms of what we are doing. And one problem with privately initiated proposals, you can never know what exactly has been agreed. And that is the same case for SGR, the same case for Expressway. You can never know the full details compared to when something is a solicited tender. So I think at this time I can stop at that summary. So I look for the other speakers.
Thank you so much, CPM Mwangi, for the submission. It's indeed really a very unfortunate event whereby the citizens are protesting, but the government keeps telling them that they're not going to listen to them. It doesn't matter what they say. They have public participation on impeachment of the deputy, but they don't have a public participation on other matters that really, involve the needs of the citizens. So this is a very unfortunate scenario that's going on. And I hope at one time it's going to come back to bite the people that are doing it. But unfortunately, we have to be more vigilant because the other time in South Africa, we had the Guptas who are really also allegedly involved in the state capture. And then we had the Kenyan Patni who moved to Zimbabwe, and there was all of a sudden really exposed by Al Jazeera to be at the front line of the gold smuggling or activities that were going on in Zimbabwe, basically just, looting the country. It's a rich country that's currently going down because of corruption. And at that point, in the interview that was aired by Al Jazeera, Patni actually openly, disclosed how he helped Moi do some of this. There's things that probably some of the people in Kenya never knew how they happened, but he believed that he's talking to a friend and trying to just, disclose how he works. So a state capture is not something to be taken lightly. We have to keep fighting. We have to really try to find a solution, because by the end of the day, if we don't, we are going to end up with very terrible situations like one that just transpired today. We had the Kenyan embassy in Thailand sending out a letter that reads like a horror movie of Kenyans going into Thailand and being taken to Burma and enslaved there. You know, they're running away from their countries and in their country, and they're going to be, you know, handed into modern slavery because of the state of failure. The country is actually failing. So we really need to be vigilant. And you might think it's not happening to you, it doesn't involve you, but it really will involve you at some point. And for those who remember the story about the hornbill, where the hornbill kept making noise in the forest and the other animals said, well, the hornbill's noise or pain is not our pain. And then the hornbill was actually eaten up. And then by the end of the day, all these animals who were very quiet ended up being victims of the other animal that was preying on them. So by the end of the day, it really remains our problem, and we have to be vigilant all the time. African Lady Justice, then 6 in that order.
Yes, thank you so much. I've been patiently waiting for a long time, and it's been great. It's been great to hear from all the speakers. So thank you so much for hosting this space on this beautiful Saturday morning and for all the engagement we have had here. I just wanted to highlight 3 factors as we talk about the state of the nation. Yes, it's true. We cannot look at this as a step-by-step approach whereby we say, oh, first we do this, the next we do that. I think it's going to take multiple operating teams, maybe with the steering committee, that can really help to channel what we are trying to do as a group. Secondly, there was a conversation about how to engage diaspora. I am a diaspora and I've been in the United States for 20 years now, and I lived in Kenya for more than 20 years. So, 2 decades of experiences in Africa and in the United States, and there's a lot that I have to share along with the people that I know who really care about Kenya. They want to work here and they want to retire in Kenya, but they not at the rate we are going, right? And I recently visited Kenya for 3 months, and I know we have the potential, we have the opportunity, we have the human capital. We just need to be able to put ourselves together. There's a story I usually like to talk about. This person went to visit an elephant farm, and he noticed that there was this big elephant tied with a rope on the leg to a little tree stump. And he was wondering, well, why is this elephant just stuck here, tied on the tree stump? And, doesn't the elephant know it can break off and just, it can break this tree stump and take off? So the elephant went to ask the owner, the person went to ask the owner, what's going on with this elephant? And the owner said, when this elephant was young, he was tied to the rope, he was tied to the tree stump. And so for all his life, he's always known if he tries to pull, there's something that's making him get stuck. And so even though the elephant has evolved, it's become a youth, it's become an adult, it still feels it doesn't have the empowerment to move away from the tree stump. And that's why it's still stuck there with the rope tied to the tree stump. So we as Kenyans right now, there's a time I really believed in the colonialism agenda and the script that I was given at school. I was taught that the white man came here to teach me how to read and write and how to pray to my God and how to cook, like how to do things differently. And then I was told that they gave me the powers to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I eventually moved out of Kenya to a first world country to figure out what exactly is happening here that we can't figure out in Kenya. And so for us, if we've been cultured and we've been conditioned to think that our answers need to come from someone else, whether it's the government, I hear a lot of people who post on Twitter and they say, oh, we should tell the international committee about this, or we should tag the WHO, or these 3-letter agencies that I know are basically working very hard to ensure that certain countries like our country remain where they are because it's a feeding mechanism to the capitalism that's going on here in the West. And so I do have the belief that these conversations that are happening here, the things that are happening on the streets, these are not in vain. The lives we've lost, the tears we've cried, the screams, the shouts, even the laughters and the spaces we've held for hours and hours, these are not in vain. And those examples that Dr. Miguna was providing, like the Bangladesh, the Iran, I have a particular one with El Salvador. He has a very good YouTube documentary on how he turned that country around. There's these things that are already happening that we can leverage. We can't leverage everything that they have done, but we can take parts of that and say, hey, here is some hope on how we can move forward. And lastly, I agree we don't have to get everyone in the same page. Someone's always going to see something in a different angle. You just got to get the majority, and we do need to work good on our organization. I'm sorry, I didn't want to take too much time, but that's all I wanted to share for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, African. So we're going to finish at the top of the hour, and so that we can give more people a chance to speak, let's go 3 minutes each, and let's concentrate on the way forward now, moving forward. Afro and Book 10, should you want to chime in at any time, just feel free. Lady Justice, 3 minutes each, and the concentration, the focus is on the way forward.
Thank you much for hosting the room and for the opportunity. I just want to reiterate what
Lady Justice, I cannot hear you.
Oh, I'm actually speaking.
She's speaking. We can hear her.
Okay, then let me know once she's done.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I just want to reiterate what's been said in the room that, at the end of the day, there's a lot going on, but change is definitely necessary. And I'll go with what Miguna said earlier on, that at the end of the day, we need to be laser focused. We have to figure out what is it that is happening and how is it going to happen. That's my submission. Thank you.
She's done speaking.
Thank you so much. Let's go to 6.
Maj, how are you doing? It's been a long time. So I'll say this. I have a very big problem with Kenyans. And my problem is this thing we call psychophancy. It has affected us. It gave us William Ruto. And right now, we are going into the same direction. Right now, I think you'll just allow me to speak because I have my own frustrations. And my frustrations is we keep making the same mistakes that we keep making each and every time since independence. For example, right now, people don't want to hear a group or a segment of people correcting Morara. Why? Because they believe in Morara is now the savior. And we can't see the stupid little things that he's making. He might be on the right side, he might be on the wrong side, but are we telling him the truth? Hiki tunafanya ni mbaya, hii ni ujinga, hii ni upuzi. And I'll tell you here for free, as somebody who has worked for different organizations, ukisema, if you say you can't hire PR strategists, somebody who is going to counter all these ill attacks coming your way, then if you don't have people who are going to sit with you down and tell you, Morara, yesterday we went to Mount Kenya, the response was not good. Are we going to take the same strategy as we go to Bomet? Are we going to take the same strategy as we go to Western Kenya? Are we going to sit down, watch, and see whatever is happening? But they'll still tell you our only chance is going to the streets. So me, I'm against that. I'm not against whatever he's doing. I'm against how he's having his team together. The other point here is, as Miguna said, the problem with Kenyans is they don't want to come out in numbers. The only way you can beat William Ruto is one. and that is by number. There is no dictator that will ever be removed in power through posting videos here in the name of Vampire Diaries. There is no dictator. The only way, Ruto knows we don't like him. He knows the country does not like him. In fact, he knows nobody in Kenya likes him. So he will use anything within his power to make sure he stays there. So if we don't come out in numbers, the only thing that Ruto cannot control is the number of people who are going out on those streets. He cannot control that one. Even if we left our houses right now and said we are going to camp there, he does not have that power. He will flee the country. And the moment he has already left that state house, he's not coming back. That is one advantage that we should take. And if we don't now educate people, masses, and we just keep saying 2027, what are you going to do 2027 with an IBC that will be appointed by a president who is corrupt and who is known for stealing votes? There is nothing that you will achieve come 2027. So the point here is we should go out in numbers, and that is what we should be preaching out here. Whatever things that we have, if you have feelings that people are attacking Morara, cut that shit. That is the same feelings we had for the church, the same feelings we had for Ruto, the same feelings we had for Uhuru, the same feelings we've been having for Raila Amolo Odinga for all those years. And it is not helping us. So guys, it is high time we wake up and remove all those things of psychophancy. Thank you.
Afro?
Yes, you're there. Thank you so much. 6,000. I'll give the microphone to James. James Muriuki.
Yeah. So thank you for the mic. I like what Maj said a few minutes earlier, that moving forward, let's talk about what's the way forward. And people have been talking, and also there's been a submission talking about people should come out in numbers. But the truth is, harnessing those numbers to speak in one voice has been the biggest problem. So I'll just dive straight into it. There's a project Kenyans have been working on called Mkura. It's a blockchain-based voting system. Right now, it's functioning as a public participation portal. So at least this is a chance where all of us can have our voices in one place at one time and harness the movement towards functionality. Also, there's been a lot of talk about organization, and we have been looking at how different people have been doing different things. Someone just spoke about Morara and the whole issue of accountability, especially in how the funds are being used. So the same system that has been developed can function as a system of democracy, full democracy and transparency and accountability. In that it hosts a treasury where all the money on the treasury is held on smart contracts and no one has control, not even a leader, if I may say. So all the spending is visible to everyone and all the spending is after a vote. So I'd urge guys, instead of just talking and saying how we need to plan and all those things, and we've been saying this for the last so many days, since 25th, the song has been the same. Let's walk the talk and put some action on our words. So just check out the platform. And just to answer one main question, no one owns the platform. Every single user who gets onto the platform becomes an owner of the platform. So I think this is our shot at consolidating our voices and true democracy. And it can actually be our way out, because if we can harness around 10, 20 million Kenyans on the platform, then we have one voice and we can be able to achieve way more that way.
Thanks, James. After now, I'd called you because I'd called your name minutes ago because I couldn't hear anyone through the main handle. That's why I logged in with the other one. But now I can hear. Back to you. Whom do we queue next? Whom did you queue next so that we can rush through 3 minutes each? And...
Nelson. Nelson Carter, can you hear us?
Me or a different one?
Oh, no, the different one. Nelson Carter. Nelson Carter. We have a Nelson Carter 14. I don't think he can hear us. Tevo. Tevo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Karibu kwenye mic.
Thank you so much, host and co-host. I wanted to contribute my 2 cents for the next 2 minutes. As General has said and put it, that we need revolutionary movement. You all know that William Ruto has sold us to the highest bidder, which is the IMF and Bill Gates. Kenya is broken. Actually, we cannot rely on the West or United States to help us right now. In 1888, the West named Kenya Imperial British Company, which was later given to Sir William Mackinnon by the Queen Victoria. So we actually, if we can't get Ibrahim Traore in Kenya, then we are going back 30 years ago, and we will be few because Bill Gates is alive in Kenya. Airport is going, food system is going. It has been sold. They will be controlling our foods, our seeds with the recent bills like the seed bill, price control bill, oil crops bill. The livestock are going and will be replaced by the synthetic meat from Bill Gates. Health system, as you all know, the sheep has been sold, and I don't want to talk about it much. Education system has been sold. Energy sector has been sold. So the system is broken.
Yeah, can we guys concentrate on sorry to interrupt. Can we guys concentrate on the way forward? Because I know we are emphasizing on the things that really are going wrong, and we've done that. But let's just really now move on to continue with the way forward as we finalize. Back to you, Tevor.
So as I finish, the way forward, the general has put it very clearly. We cannot rely on the IBC because the IBC will be the same skunks. So if we can't have Ibrahim Traore in Kenya, then we'll be fucked. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Tevor. Guys, now it's a marathon because we have 30 minutes to finish. And remember, we're going to reserve the last 10 minutes for the closeout period. So let's even try. If you can do 2 minutes, that's going to be perfect. So we're going by Fundi and then Apollo. Fundi Wathamos. Okay, going once, going twice. Apollo. Dropped. Baraka.
Yes. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. I would want to first start and saying thank you for the platform, Maj. I think I would encourage before 2 minutes that I'll take my time. Please allow a lot of people to also participate in this conversation because it's supposed to be a watu wanazungumza, right? People to talk. And I would like to say that I've met Dr. Miguna in the States here before, and I think parts of the conversation, I think all this young lads that we're seeing today, the Moraras, the Casamores, it's like they need to take a book out of Dr. Miguna. I knew Dr. Miguna, and I'm not Dr. Miguna.
Can I please just interrupt you because I don't want us to degenerate in individual discussions, and I understand your point, the point that you want to bring about. But we could do that. You could do that on your timeline. Then you tag him, and then he's going to make a statement from it. Because really, we discourage that because it can be perceived differently. So let's just concentrate on the state of the nation. With
I would like to talk about the forum issues. We have been
so Fred, just a moment. Fred Matiangi, please wait. So Baraka, can you finalize, please?
No, and I think that's part of the process. Like I understand what you're saying, Maj, but at the same time, you cannot be
okay. I'm guiding you, Baraka, for the last time. I'm guiding you on the conversation that we're having. So we have.
And the conversation.
Can I continue? Okay. As I continue, we had assigned 2 hours, and now we are adding on another 1 hour out of our daily lives over the weekend, 3 hours. So what we want to do is to concentrate on solutions and the way forward and not discussing individuals. So I'm going to give you this opportunity to actually just finalize if you can take that cue, if that's fine with you, the guideline. Otherwise, we're going to move to the next person. Back to you, Baraka.
Yep, back to me, and I think you appreciate that. And I think I'm a freedom. I'm a straight thinker, right? And based on exactly what you've said, I'm not going to do but exactly what you're saying. I think I just have 2 seconds to say what I'm going to say.
Then that dropped from the speaker. Who was next? That was Apollo is gone. We have Fred Matiangi. You can go now. No, Fred Mukua.
Thank you much. So our enemy is only one person, William Samoei Ruto. That's the only guy who is making us going behind. Ruto lied to Kenyans that he's going to perform without Raila Odinga. Now he's in bed with Raila Odinga. So we want to find a solution on how we can chase this goon out of power. This person is a thief, is a murderer. We know well that William Ruto is a liar. So we are angry. Most of young generation, not on 99% of Kenyans, we are not happy. But we want to find good solutions that we want to overthrow this government. 2027 is far. Most of Kenyans, like me, I'm suffering. So we need the good people to assist the young generation to ensure William Ruto is out of power. We need to clean the system. We want the system which is working for the poor Kenyans. We want to see
Africa, can you still hear him?
No, I can't hear him.
Okay, he dropped. Oh, okay. So Dr. has just communicated that he wants to make his closing remarks, but don't feel discouraged. We're still going to give you some, we're still going to be on until the top of the hour to make sure that people speak, because we still have over 50 requests. But he's going to listen to part of the space, the recording that he hasn't listened to when he exits. And so if there are questions that are directed to him, he's going to answer them. So he's just tied up and really has donated another 30 minutes. Let's give him the chance to really do the closing remarks. And like Said, he's going to listen in. Over to you, Dr.
Thank you, Maj. So I have just one thing that I wanted to say. I know that we are discussing the way forward, and I know that we have discussed this thing before, and I know people think that it's a broken record. But I want to remind everyone, a revolutionary struggle, as I always say, is not a choir. It's not a church choir. It's not a wedding procession. It will not take one day. It will not take 2 weeks. It will not take 1 month. It's a process. It can take years. It has taken decades for the case of Kenya and the case of many other countries. Bangladesh just had their revolution. It doesn't mean that it was a one-day thing. No. Yes, they did it daily for 3 weeks and they succeeded. But they've been trying this for years, for decades. The Sri Lankans the same. One family dominated power for a very long time before they managed to break the cycle. So we cannot give up. And nobody should tell you that talking about the same thing every day is bad. We must talk about it every day. That is the only way we will reach the whole country enough numbers for us to be able to mobilize. Secondly, nobody should tell you, don't use Twitter, don't use or X, don't use the internet, don't use Facebook, don't use WhatsApp, don't use whatever. You have to meet people on the ground. No, we are not living in the 1960s. Remember that in the 1960s, they hardly had radios. They only used pamphlets because that's what they could use to be able to disseminate information. Now, we have something more revolutionary than a radio, than a pamphlet. We have social media. It reaches you unfiltered, directly, and you don't pay extra if you have a connection. All you need is a Wi-Fi or data. Let's use it robustly. They should not tell you, no, you can't organize using X. You can. That's what happened during the Arab Spring. That's what happened in Ukraine during when they had the Orange Revolution. That's what happened in Sri Lanka. That's what happened in Bangladesh. That is what happened. That's what happened actually in Kenya in June. Let no one tell you that social media is nothing. Let no one tell you that social media organizing and mobilizing means nothing. This is the only way, the only organic way that we can occupy CBD or even State House in one day without warning. And so I'm going to make a call, and it's going to be a fearless, robust call, unequivocal. Let's occupy Nairobi on Mashujaa Day. Let's spread the word. Let's repeat it. Let's make sure everybody hears it. Let's make sure those who are tired of Ruto come onto the street. Let them call us violent. Let them call us anarchists. Let them call us anything. Let them abuse us. Let them threaten us. Let them try to intimidate. But let's just make one call. Occupy Nairobi or occupy State House or occupy CBD on Mashujaa Day. I rest my case. Yes, I will stay around for some questions, and God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, General, for the a very good discussion and your input. And yes, we appreciate that you're going to stay on still for some questions. Yes, and that leads us directly to Isaac and Josephine, then MMSQ in that order. So do take advantage of the time that he's still there to really just shoot your questions as we try to finalize at the top of the hour. Isaac, Karibu.
Thank you so much, Marge. I really appreciate and for the discussion. So here's the way forward. I'll be very, very brief. Number one, we've heard, Kenyans are people who are at the moment, they're like desperate. They're desperate for anyone who can actually come and stand in for them, right? And individuals that we have right now, we've been basing on these individuals. But the problem is Ruto is very, very smart. We are dealing with someone who worked under the era of Moi, and he knows the divide and rule. And even he has infiltrated, even in the youth that we've actually been believing in, sending money and doing all those kinds of things. And he knows how to divide these people. And I like what one of the previous speaker did mention. If we have like a committee or a trust fund that is actually managed by experts, whereby we can actually audit and know how the money is being used, we can actually send this money to a trust fund, and it can be used even for grassroots, civic education and the likes. So giving money to an individual, we just don't know where this money is going. We don't know whether they're just doing business. They're using our desperate moment to gain money, to do business. And this has been a problem with what is happening. So we're contributing money just going anywhere, but we don't have accountability for this money. So my way forward is if we can have a committee, if we can have a trust fund that is actually managed by people, experts, have accountants, because the money we are raising, Hanifa received over 30 million. That's not pocket change money. That's a lot of money. And if this money can be used accountably, I think we can head somewhere and we can have a very strong, solid foundation in which we can actually fight this war. And as Miguna has mentioned, this is not something that should stop. We should keep the conversation going. We should keep the rhetoric going, because that's the only way these people will ever listen. So let's move forward. Let's stand strong. Let's keep this conversation going. And we're going, at the end of the day, we will win. That's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isaac, for underlining on the importance of accountability. We move to Josephine.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to say good morning, good evening, and good afternoon in your timelines. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity to speak to Kenyans, wherever you are, fellow Kenyans. Yes, I want to appreciate what Dr. Miguna has just said. And that's the call I'm making to all the citizens of Kenya who are listening, and you are within the territories and within the borders of Kenya, who are not in diaspora. What I'm saying is that come on 20th, the president will be having a Mashujaa Day in Kwale, trying to launch the new state lodge, which within a very short time. And yet, Kenya, we do not have money, but we have money to introduce a new state just around 80 kilometers away from Mombasa, while we still have the State House in Mombasa. A reason best known to the president. And for that reason, so that we can show the president that we are not for him, we need to have numbers in Uhuru Park. So that first and foremost, we can at least acknowledge and appreciate and also give commemoration to our heroes who were slaughtered by Ruto, and Ruto refused to take responsibility and to apologize to the people of Kenyans, to people of Kenya. So what I'm calling upon is that I'm calling upon on 20th, may all the roads be leading to Uhuru Park. We fill Uhuru Park, and from there we can make a new decision from there. At the same time, at that particular point, we need also to be very keen on the things that we would want to, the message that we would want to pass that particular day. Remember, fellow Kenyans, that come May next year, without an IEBC in place, that means automatically we will not have an election come 2027. And those are the calculations Ruto is actually calculating to ensure that we don't have elections. So before we get to that, we need to push and make sure that before then, anytime soon, before end of this year, we have an IEBC constituted, so that we can even start recalling the MPs that we have who have become our enemies together with the Ruto. They have chosen to be our enemies. The other thing I would want to say is that it's our time, and the time has come for us to stand up for what belongs to us. Yes, I'm just landing, and go for what belongs to us. Let's stop sugarcoating Ruto, lying to him is smart. He used to be smart. He is no longer smart. Right now, he's waiting to hear the track we are taking, and sending his people inside here in the spaces to hear the ideas that we have, so that he can look for how to counter them. Fellow Kenyans, brain and counter brains. And Ruto is one brain. He's not the only educated person in this country. We are more educated. We have also knowledge which we are inborn with it, God-given knowledge, and join it up together. We can remove Ruto as early as yesterday, as long as we cooperate. The other issue is the issue of giving money. There's a speaker who was just spoken about giving people money. That's the truth. There are people who are taking advantage of the desperation of Kenyans, and others actually are getting even money from the Ruto, and they come in here pretending they are supporting us, so that we collect money and we send to them, and they take the money back to Ruto, while we are still here trying to think that they mean good to us. We have to be careful. We have to be vigilant, and they come up with maybe either a team of few people whom we are sure they mean what we do, and not the person who is carrying out the activity, who is collecting the money direct from us. Let's merge the money in the same place, and then we can actually give even the money. We are having a rally then we can remove that money, we go for the rally. A number of people, not just a few people, or one person saying that I'm doing this, I'm doing the other. Can we stand firm? We are going to redeem our country by our own monies and by our own effort without relying on a single entity who is telling you, I am the right person, I am doing this for you. You are not even sure whether they are doing what they are telling you they are doing. And when somebody wants to take money, you know Kenyans, we are very smart. When I want to eat money from you, I will still eat the money. Thank you so much, fellow Kenyans. All the roads, 20th, leading to Uhuru Park, so that we can show Ruto we are not with him. The Kenyans are on their own and he's on his own. Also, let's also give an opportunity to all other leaders who are not in the government so that they can join the same team. We become a strong team. The way it was in 2022 when we removed Moi is the same way we should do so that we remove Ruto. Thank you so much, and may God bless us, and may God bless Kenya.
Thank you so much, Josephine. Before we proceed to MESQ, I just want to point out the 25th of June, there was still no funds. So let's not concentrate too much on money. The most effect that was felt in the country was done without money, of course. Money can bring in more, but really let's also look at other resources, because we shouldn't forget about the potential that money has to really divide. MESQ. Afro, do tell me when he's done. I cannot hear him.
He's not speaking yet.
Oh, okay. I thought it's only me who wasn't hearing him. Okay, MESQ, are you speaking? Say something, because nobody can hear you. Otherwise, we move to Wambui as you sort your mic. Wambui? Oh, sorry, Wambua.
Wambua, can you hear us? Wambua. Microphone is yours.
Okie dokie. If Wambua cannot hear us, what we're going to do now is, unfortunately, because we only have 19 minutes to go, we're not going to add any other persons to the mic. We're going to just add CPM. I think CPM dropped. And then only those on the mic will say something, and then we close. We're going to be planning other spaces. We really apologize that we're not able to accommodate everyone, and some of you have been waiting from the very beginning. I really apologize, but we added you 1 more hour. So let's go by Beatrice, and then Tom Boyer and Paul, and then we close. Beatrice?
Hello, good evening. How are you, Marge?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? I can hear you.
I am well, thank you so much. Mine is an appreciation to you for holding space to have a mature social political audit about Kenya and amongst Kenyans. Perhaps what I might want to invite this platform to do is to champion for a space where we bring together all these leadership that emerged during the organic organizing towards and after June 25th. Why I'm saying this is because I think we are struggling with trust issues as Kenyans. We are struggling with finding our points of convergence. So I'm inviting us as well to kill the individualism that is projected with the kind of power that these X spaces give us as either influencers, journalists, from wherever, as lawyers, from wherever we organize from, or from whichever that is our organizing philosophy. So I'm inviting us to have an internal analyzing of ourselves, and then ask ourselves what technicalities or what technical gain or thing you're giving to the movement that believes in Ruto must go. Not Ruto must go in 2027, but Ruto must go now. Why, Marge and Kenyans that are listening in here? I have a problem with whoever released the Ruto must go clarion. Why? Because it didn't say when. And people are planning in silos. So as we continue to plan in silos, what technical expertise are you bringing in to not only just say Ruto must go online, but to also effect it? That would be that.
Yes, very precise. Thank you so much for really being on point and keeping the time, Beatrice. Tom and then Paul. Tom Boyer? Okay, going once, going twice. Paul?
Hello.
Hello. Take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So, thanks for hosting the space, and and also allowing me to speak. What I wanted to say is like,
okay, going once, going twice.
Well, can I say something? Thank you. Okay, let Paul pick it up.
Okay, what I wanted to say is that, okay, fine. Like the way forward, I think there should be a central place where this communication or all the points, because we can have a meeting right now and then discuss all these issues, but there are people who are not listening, and we want to get back to, and they would love to know what happened, what people discussed, what points were taken, and let's say if like having a website, like there's issues which are going on, like where we have a website or a central place where every Kenyan can actually go and get the information, right? Because like not everyone can be able to attend on this meeting, but otherwise, but there are good points which have been laid forth. For example, the gentleman who was talking about like having a central place where for voting and also where the money is spent, the money is kept, having different departments, selecting different people committees where they're going to be discussing issues and stuff like that. So it's very key and it's very important to have a central place. Let's say we have our own, like it's the same thing we have like eCitizen, we have our own website where all this information is put. Guys are allowed to vote, guys are allowed to give opinions, and then there are people who like kind of state when, let's say if you give 7 days or 14 days whereby this information will be collated, and then this will be the way forward people have chosen to go. I think that will be very, very important. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Paul, for your submission and for really, joining in and contributing to the conversation. We really appreciate. Tom Boyer? Okay, when you call on Tom, he's not speaking. So like, now we are winding up. So Nelson, over to you for your closing remarks.
Thank you, Maj. I don't have much to say. I think General Miguna said it all. We need to overhaul the entire system. Otherwise, all these calls that we are making, saying form IBC, dissolve parliament, I don't know, all these things, they're just, in Kiswahili we say hazitazuia tembo kunywa maji, something like this. So the real issue is for us to go in large numbers, and we don't even need a lot of numbers to do it, because in Bangladesh it was only the students who did it. And even in Paris, normally it's not many, it's not the entire population that does it. It's only Parisians who normally go to the streets, and it's really felt. So even the finance bill itself, it wasn't 1 million people in the street, but it was really felt. So it has to come from the people to go and to protest in the streets, and that's gonna be our only solution right now. Otherwise, Ruto is going to cement his position in power. And the last thing I would like to say is to call everyone to come and support the 20th March. I think people are going to Uhuru Park, so everyone should come from wherever, even from different counties to Nairobi, and let's occupy Uhuru Park. Let's occupy Nairobi. Let's make our voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nelson. There was a lady who actually wanted to speak, but I cannot see her. I would have given her the last chance. Be real, I cannot see you. Daktari, do you have any other last comments before we close? Yeah.
Yes, Maj. I just wanted to say that Ruto Must Go was coined to focus the movement. A movement has to have a focus, and the focus has to be the person with the highest level of responsibility. A date could not be given, because if you do give a date and it does not happen on that date, then you demoralize the people saying Ruto must go. So Ruto Must Go still remains the most potent call of this movement.
But now we have improved it and say he must go in 2024. He must go now. All those are complementary. So we can start another one, non-stop protest on Mashujaa Day, and we can organize people for that. And I would like to call on us to do that. It doesn't matter where you are physically. The struggle is always not based on physical location. Ngugi was very effective from London, and then he moved to the US, and he continued being very effective. Some of the most potent writers wrote from abroad. Karl Marx never visited Moscow, never visited Beijing, wrote his Communist Manifesto from London, and it has reverberated all over the world for centuries. So let's not be parochial, let's not be sectarian, let's not be petty. Let's consider the movement and the revolutionary agenda as a holistic thing that must involve women, must involve men, must involve youth, must involve people of all generations. That's why when they coined Genz, I was very happy because it's all generations. If you leave out any generation or leave out any gender, that means you're going to fail. Anybody who attacks women, especially at the critical time, is counter-revolutionary because we have more than 50% of our population is women. And there is no way any revolution has won without the involvement of women. So those chauvinists, those jingoistic men who are shouting every Saturday about men only, men on top, must stop it because you're not going to succeed that way. You cannot abuse your mother and then come home and expect love and expect affection and expect food. So let's embrace only people of integrity into the movement. I am not for the idea of involving anyone just because they shout Ruto must go. If you work for the NIS and you shout Ruto must go, we should expose you. If you work for Ruto and has been told to come here and distract us so that every time if we say Mashujaa Day, we are on the street, then you feign that you have been abducted so that we can start singing about you, we will expose you. Let us be vigilant. Let us not be gullible. And let's maintain discipline and focus. Viva and bravo and good evening.
Viva, and thank you so much, General, for... Oh, Afro, yes? Somebody's speaking.
Is it book 10?
Yes, Selma. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining this space. It has been very educative. On 20th, let's go out and fight for our rights. Let's go out and demand accountability. Let's go out and fight until these corrupt people leave office. Because we want a government that is accountable and serve the rights of the people. This guy, William Ruto, doesn't care how much noise we make. He doesn't care how many corruption scandals we expose. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care how Kenyans are suffering. He doesn't care whether we access education or not. So the only way to defeat him is to camp in the streets, fight until we achieve our goals. So on 20th, let's all go out and fight for our rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Book 10, for being able to also make your closing remarks. I see Beryl and CPM have come on board. Please make your closing remarks, and then Afro will make the closing remarks, his closing remarks, and then I close. Beryl? Okay, Beryl is, the network is shaking. CPM, take it away.
Thank you for the opportunity. Apologize, I was up and over today, but I look forward to the next session. I'll pay attention to.
Good evening, Maj. Is anybody talking?
Because it was to happen. Hello?
Yes, Beryl, CPM has taken it.
Afro, is anybody talking?
Yes, CPM is talking. CPM is talking. Can you hear me, Beryl?
Give me 100 if you can hear me.
Beryl can't hear this, please.
Okay. Then CPM, just continue. I'll communicate to Beryl that we cannot hear, she cannot hear us, and then she can join next time. Continue, CPM.
Yeah. Yeah, so saying...
okay, can you hear me now?
According to the report...
CPM, go ahead.
Yeah, so saying according to the report, the deal was to be signed off by 31st of this month. So it's something I'm looking for. I'm following keenly. But what you have to know, we are using defunct regulations of the Act, because when the Act was